The senior space analyst under President Carter approached Daniel Sheehan for his help with gathering intelligence for whether or not aliens existed in our galaxy. And Sheehan agreed to help on one condition.
I told her that I would need to have access to certain kinds of information. And she said, what would you like to see? And I said, well, the first thing I'd like to see was the classified section of Project Blue Book.
Now, officially, Project Blue Book didn't have any classified sections, but nonetheless, Marcia Smith said, I can't promise anything. Let me go talk to my higher-ups and see what they say.
Much to our surprise, I was granted permission to see them.
So a few days later, he was led to a basement vault under the Library of Congress where armed guards were standing in front of a certain room.
The two security men at the door told me I was not allowed to take any notes, but I actually had a yellow pad under my arm when I went in, like this.
Which none of the guards happened to notice as he walked into the room alone.
I was brought downstairs into a room where they had these shoeboxes with microfilm in them, documents, etc.
As he was riffling through everything, he eventually found a series of, quote, unmistakable photographs.
It wasn't a light in the sky, it wasn't a vague report about having seen something going very fast. These were official United States Air Force photographs
that showed a clear flying saucer embedded in snow and surrounded by Air Force personnel.
It plowed across the field and was stuck into a snowbank about a 45-degree angle.
He also noticed there were photos of some symbols that were apparently on the side of this flying saucer.
When I saw these photographs, I opened up the yellow pad and I traced the actual symbols that were along the base of the saucer.
And after he finished, he stood up, closed his pad, and walked out of the room.
And the two security guys, one of them says, what's that under your arm? And I said, oh, this is a yellow pad. And he opened it up and he leafed through all the pages and there was nothing there.
And Sheehan said the reason he didn't see anything
because I put it on the inside of the cardboard.
Which luckily the guard didn't even bother to look at. After this, he gave all the information he found to Marcia Smith, and apparently she drafted 2 documents that eventually ended up on the desk of President Carter. Now, after this, the CIA realized that Carter was not going to stop digging around, so they actually sent a lone MJ-12 briefing officer to the Oval Office to have a private one-on-one meeting with President Carter, where he apparently briefed him on UFOs, crash retrievals, and the ET presence on Earth. Now, proof of this briefing was actually contained in a leaked CIA document leaked by a former member of the Defense Intelligence Agency who anonymously called himself the Falcon. Right after this meeting, a presidential aide who was really close to Carter walked into the Oval Office and saw President Carter sitting at his desk sobbing with his head in his hands. From that moment on, Carter also seemed to change his entire stance on wanting to disclose all the UFO information, saying in an interview, maybe there are some UFO sightings that have national security implications, and perhaps not everything can be released. Which brings us to the biggest question of all, why? Why do presidents who are clearly interested and seem to believe in UFOs stop talking about it altogether once they get in the White House? Is it because UFOs actually don't exist? Is it because we don't want other countries to know the technology we have access to? Or is there something much more sinister going on here? To truly understand the answer to these questions, we have to go back to 1947 when the CIA was first formed, just 5 months after an entire naval fleet was allegedly attacked by a flying saucer that could, quote, fly from pole to pole with incredible speed.